Hello and welcome to today's program at DBA Platform. My name is Sarah Bryant. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at DBA Platform, where our mission is to get you found. Today, we're going to be talking about advanced profile optimization techniques. Now, we spend a lot of time in this forum answering kind of the simple questions because a lot of this niche world of local SEO, there's a lot of simple things to conquer to get your profile visible online. And we always get asked about some of the more advanced techniques. We get a lot of questions about specific applications and things. So today, Jan has prepared a couple of more advanced techniques for us to review. And of course, we'll be taking questions. And you're here, of course, because you know how important it is, the local map listings, how important that is to decisions that consumers and searchers are making online. So whether you're a novice or an expert, there's something for you here today to learn about the Google Business Profile. And we'll also be giving the latest updates as they're rolling out from Apple, Microsoft, Google, and all the listing, gardens of the internet. So we've got a dialed in education. And the best part, of course, is the Q&A. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like a few advanced techniques and then take a bunch of questions. So hopefully you guys came with some scenarios today, and I'm sure we'll if you don't already have some, we'll be inspiring your questions as we go through a few things. Now, first, in order to best take advantage of the discussion and the questions and answers, please find the Q&A box in your controls on your Zoom. So you'll find there are a bunch of features here where you can like chat with Luke, who is our administrator today. Luke will be putting in links for things like the Facebook forum and other things that Jan mentions. And if you have any kind of administrative issues, you can reach Luke on the chat. But where you're going to want to focus and maybe even launch the little widget is that Q&A box, because there, everybody who's here today is able to post questions for Jan to answer, and those questions can be voted on. So you'll be able to see the questions as they're coming in from other participants. If you like that question and you really want to hear the answer to that one, upvote it, and then I'll be helping to guide the questions through the program today, make sure that we hit the most popular questions and get those questions answered. So let me introduce today's speaker, and that is Jan Gilbert. Jan, I don't know how long you and I have been doing this webinar. It's been years, but every time it makes me smile to introduce you because of how well regarded you are in the SEO world, how much you know, how plugged in and tuned in you are to what's going on as these major platforms change how they weight different things. You always get to hear the inside secrets. Now, I know you can't always share them. Some of it is secret squirrel spy stuff, but you always do help guide us in the right direction. So if you guys don't know, Jan is one of only a handful of Google Platinum product experts in the world. He spends his time and his knowledge, helping people navigate the changes that get made. And this is super important because, as you know, when things happen, it's so hard to get straight answers from Google about, what's important. And it's sort of against Google's nature to tell us, because what they really want to do is create a natural environment for people to search and find business listings and resources that are the most matched to the query that they're making. And so, Google doesn't want to teach us how to game their system. But the flip side of that is sometimes you can have really, really good intentions to, organize information and, share things with searchers and consumers, and you don't know if posting these things or changing these things is hurting your listing or helping. So there's a lot to navigate here. So Jan, I don't know, where do you want to start today with some recent updates?
Yeah, that's where I normally start. Thanks. Hi, everyone. And just to go off of what Sarah said is sometimes you have to read between the lines. I can't say things directly. So sometimes I'll be presenting things that you have to extrapolate just a little bit. I'm not allowed to say certain things, but I try to help as much as I can. Let's start with usually I start with the categories, but let's go with the bugs and issues. This is the same slide as last month, actually. I mean, it's sometimes Google is slow to resolve issues. There's still some delays in reinstatements. Last time we talked, there was like 3 weeks it would take. I think it's a little bit faster than that now. I don't have an exact time. Could be maybe a week and a half at this point, depending on the category. Locksmiths are really slow, like usual. But yeah, there's some delays. So and there's some review reporting tool is not functional. So there's a lot of glitches in general. And so if you're working with your clients and they're getting frustrated, you have to tell them that it's Google is making a lot of changes and they're just breaking stuff, or it works perfectly for some profiles and not other profiles. So it's not you, like you say, it worked, but now it doesn't work. It's probably not you, it's probably Google. Um, there's a lot of small issues, and you can read those right here. In general, yeah, it's not fun right now on the support forum. There's lots of the same things coming in, but there's glitchy. It's just glitchy. I don't know what they're doing in the back end or whatever, but there's little things with reviews and suspensions, a lot of suspensions, and then delays, and then they're being support is very harsh now with their paperwork and the documentation. So it's very frustrating experience, to be honest, for me, and I'm sure for the people who get suspended or have missing reviews and things like that. But it's happening to everyone. Let's go into some of the new categories. There are two new categories this month, so data center and IV therapy service. So I mean, not too much there for local. There were some previous additions last month, which is on the right-hand side there. Those are more local ones that I pull out. And then this month there were a lot of removed categories, which was kind of new. I never report on removed categories. I pulled out some that were more local based because there was tons of removed categories. Um, what happens is you probably grandfathered in if you had any of these as your primary category, it's probably still listed, but um, should you change it? Like I wouldn't go and change it because if you manually change it, you risk a suspension. You're probably not going to rank worse for things, but it's up to you to see how important these categories were. Again, it may not touch, they're very specific. So I don't know if anyone's listening if it touched any of these, but yeah, Google for some reason took out categories and it's going to if try to pick the closest one if you had a secondary category. So I'm not quite sure how it works because I didn't have a listing myself that was impacted, so I don't know exactly how it impacts rankings. But that would be something to pay attention to if you did have one of these categories as your, especially if it was your primary category. Again, uh, I don't want to tell you if I can't test it, right? So I'm just telling you this is something that you should look at and pay attention to. I don't know exactly how it's going to impact you because I wasn't able to do it myself. We'll move on to this I spoke about last month as well because it was rolling out in England. I'm not sure if it rolled out yet to North America or to other countries. So this is kind of a question to the people listening if they've seen this. So, rolling around, uh, but definitely it's in the UK where if there's a lot of suspicious reviews on the listing, it's kind of weird because if Google thinks those reviews are suspicious, they're going to remove them, but yet they'll put this label and kind of a little shameful, say, hey, this listing is suspicious, right? For the reviews. I haven't seen this in North America yet, but this is something that will come and will roll out. So I just wanted to remind everyone that obviously no one here gets fake reviews. So if you do get this label on your listing, there is a process to try to get it off, right? You have to appeal. You have to say, hey, please look at my listing. This is not supposed to be there. All my reviews are legit. Blah blah blah. There's an appeal process
Well,
there, and if
at
you
least they're telling you now. At least they're telling you something as opposed to just getting rid of all your reviews or something like that.
yeah, I mean they would remove reviews. But I think this is a little bit better, but it's if there's false positives, obviously going to really hurt a business. And I don't know how long the review process will take because again, I don't have a listing in the UK that got this, so I can't test it myself. But you click on details, it would bring you to a page, then you can appeal through one of the regular appeal things, and then it would probably take a week or two because that's how most appeals usually take. I'm just guessing. So it can be hard. What do? You can't really prevent anything. If you think you're getting fake reviews, because I actually do have a listing, a client that is getting fake positive reviews with weird pictures from like uh, just random images, and they're 5-star reviews. I really don't understand why they're getting it, and they're all similar. So we've been reporting them and they've been getting removed. So if you're getting fake 5-star reviews, I would report them, flag them, go through your review tool and flag them. So to avoid a potential label like this, you're kind of getting ahead. So just like, in the past, sometimes I got a 5-star review. I have no clue who it is. Yeah, we'll just leave it. Obviously, it's a 5-star. I wouldn't do that anymore, right? If there's a few of them coming in and it's some weird, because someone might be buying fake reviews for you and you don't know. That's the problem, right? So if you're really getting a bunch, I would report them and not just be like, oh yeah, great, extra 5-star reviews. I would be more careful at this point, be proactive. Uh, More stuff on reviews is this was announced a couple weeks ago that if you have LSAs, the LSA reviews were getting spammed like crazy. Google was really bad in policing this, and however the process was, it was just bad. There was just so many fake things. And so what they're doing with the LSA, so LSA, local service ads, used to have their own separate reviews, but now they're linking it to your profile and it's going to use the reviews from your profile. So you're not going to get your own LSA reviews anymore. So that is coming by next month. So Google's really trying to police the reviews a lot better and be more, uh, you know, I think because it's so important to the system for people to keep using, and people make evaluations and judgments off of the reviews, it's a really big pain point for Google that they want to clean this up as much as possible. Because if you start not believing the reviews, then the whole system falls apart. People will go to a different place to evaluate businesses. So I will, and that's gonna lean into go into another idea that I'm going to talk about here. And so this is new. This is more e-commerce, but this is where I'm getting into the advanced new stuff. Is someone shared this a few days ago on Twitter. I forgot who it is now, but I grabbed this from one of the websites, like the news SEO websites here. So they did a search for bedside table, and there's a shop nearby there, which is kind of new. You could see underneath here where it says 4.3 and store rating. So those things were there before, but shop nearby was not there before. So eventually, I think the system is going to start consolidating because right now, like I was explaining, LSA had its own reviews, and now it's going to use a Google profile reviews. We have e-commerce and as Merchant Center. It's kind of separate, connected to Google Profiles, which is what we do at DBA Platform. But there's elements of that system which is separate as well. And eventually everything's going to draw together. And so this shop nearby SERP feature here that's a local thing, right? And that's why I'm talking about it here because it's e-commerce, but it's not necessarily e-commerce, it's commerce in general. If you have a store that sells things, we want to be able to have all the elements possible showing up in Google. And then if we come back here, so here's more of a local query of pest control, and you'll see in this case, it's not a local store, but it's an online store, but it doesn't mean that they don't have a physical store someplace, right? So you can have your physical store, you can sell products in your store if you're pest control, for example. And if you click on this, these store ratings come from a different place. Because they don't have a Google listing, it's like called Google Customer Reviews, and it's a whole different system. And when you click on that store rating, it brings you here to this page. So this is like a Google generated page, and DIY pest control. It's pulling in videos from the business, pulling in all these reviews that when you go shopping, Google will pop up things you want to rate this review. It's pulling in social media profiles at the bottom here. And then there's these little icon like info things here. So about this page, and it says store ratings are based on customer reviews and other data. Again, these are reviews that are separate from your Google profile. But I guess I'm talking to more about the clients here that sell things in their store, right? Because you could be a service area business, but you could also sell things. There might be a way to connect to Merchant Center if you sell some things, and this is where a DBA can help you potentially connect to Merchant Center, and we are going to be seen in more places because now you're a store selling physical products as well. And then what's also interesting is this section here. If you click on the icon, it'll say about these videos. So these videos are pulled in automatically from your social media of this business, and that's at the bottom. So not too long ago, Google Google was always pulling in on your Google listings, on your profiles, was pulling in social media profiles, but you didn't have control over it. And then later, or earlier this year, I should say, they allowed the manual addition of the social profiles. And so what this is showing to me is that Google is connecting to your social profiles, but then it's specifically saying these videos are coming from their social profiles. Where is it on the page? Right at the top, right at the top of the page, above the reviews even, right? So that's telling me that Google says, hey, these videos, we think videos are more important than the reviews for this page. So again, this is where I'm getting into the advanced stuff is this may not impact you because you're not an e-commerce or a commerce store or selling physical products, but I'm looking at the overall ecosystem of what Google is doing here, and Google is pulling in social media profiles and looking at their videos and putting them at the top for this section here. That's telling me something about the importance of what Google is doing, right? So if we look at our profiles, these are our Google profiles. These are the social media profiles that Google wants to let us add in, right? So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and TikTok there. So I wouldn't say this is advanced, but you have the ability to manually add these in, like before we weren't, right? Add these in. If you have these things, add them in, and also start thinking about, if you have, I have an old YouTube, or the business has an old YouTube, it hasn't had any videos for years and years and years. Put something there, right? Put something on your Facebook. Open up all these things, all these social media profiles. Google is saying, we think these are important. We think we want to connect to the business. We want more information, and it's telling you what it wants. And usually Google doesn't tell you what it wants, right? In this case, it doesn't say just like add your social media, it's telling you these specific ones. So go in and fill these out and make sure that these social media profiles have content, have new content, right? I know we're not working on only the profile now. We have to start spreading our love a little bit to other places, not only for this, but for the AI that's coming down, right? For the Perplexity and the Bing search and all the LLMs and the AI searches coming down the track. When that starts to become, people doing less searches on regular Google, and they're going to start doing other AI searches, and it's going to start pulling in local, we need to have all our profiles filled out because the AI is going to start looking at all these things, right? So in going forward, we're going to have to, there'll be less on Google and more everywhere else. And it's going to make our lives harder as marketers because now we're going to have to pay attention to a lot more. But so we want to get ahead of the curve here. But in this case, it's not really ahead of the curve. This has been there for months and months. Fill it in, open up if you don't have them, get reviews on these places, put content, put pictures, make videos. If you can't get videos from the client, then there's lots of automated video systems out there, right? I can't think of any names right now, but basically use generate a text, go to one of those places, Lumen, I think Lumen 5, I think is one of them. Go in there and it'll create a 2-minute video and it'll just stock images, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Just put something there with some text that makes sense, right? If you have nothing legitimate to put. So
This is another good example of,
yeah,
we think something isn't important, but Google can switch it on anytime and decide to start pulling information in from other places. And then it becomes possibly a ranking factor, or at least something that informs the Google profile. And so now other people can have a strategic advantage if that stuff is there. So it's, as you always say, there's these things that you do to make sure that the profile is complete, accurate, consistent, and all that. But then when you're done with that, there are website elements, and now we're seeing some social media elements and other things coming in where Google's saying, hey, let's take a wider look at what's out there for these guys and see if anything can help to, create a little more context for the searcher, the consumer. And now, and they're going to continue to do that. So as always, the best practice is to put out lots of good content that would explain the problems and the solutions that your business provides to, as education.
yeah, perfect. Yeah, and not just for Google. I think, again, like the other AI systems that may or may not gain market share for search, for local search, they're gonna, you don't know what data it's gonna use, right? So if Perplexity doesn't have access to Google, but it's gonna have access to all your social media profiles because those are those are public URLs basically, right? So now we have to start to spread out the data. So you may not be getting any conversions on YouTube. You may not be getting any conversions on TikTok, but the data there is still important because whatever system is going to be returning, who's the best roofer in XYZ town, how is the AI going to make that decision? It's going to go looking a little bit on your website, look at your social media, it's going to look at reviews, it's going to be collating everything. So now we got to spread all our information as wide as possible. Yeah. So any questions at this point? Because I'll change up the topic a bit.
We have a few coming in. I think you could probably move on.
Cool. Okay. So we'll go to one example here. So I was just searching them today. There's not my business. I have no idea who they are. So Aladdin Plumbing Corp. They're somewhat strong business. They have hundreds of reviews. They've been there for years. One thing, I'm not going to talk about it in depth, but we talked about categories before. But I think there's a lot of other, plumber, HVAC type categories that they can be adding. So that's one thing that they're missing. Always check if there's more categories you can add in that case. But let's move on. I was talking about the social media. So on their profile, this is what they have. They have a YouTube, they have a Facebook, and they have a Twitter. So I was just looking through them, and this is their Facebook. I mean, this is their YouTube. So it's years old. It's 6 years old. It's 11 years old. So it's an old business. He started his YouTube with his name, with his personal name here. And it's just been sitting there, right? So this is something where, that's what I was saying as an example, like it might be open, there might be sitting there, and there might be nothing there, it might be years old, right? So obviously the first thing to do would be to change that name to his business name. But if we look at Facebook, so this is what he put on his profile. He connected his YouTube and his Facebook and Twitter. His Facebook at least has his business name, no problem, matches. And his Twitter, or his X, I should say, has Aladdin Plumbing. Okay, same thing, doesn't have the corp. So, yeah. So the main thing we would look at this is, well, update your YouTube name at least, and maybe get some extra videos there. But here's the advanced thing is sometimes we get used to doing things for Google. So Google says the name should be Aladdin Plumbing Corp because that's That's his official name. It's his registered name, blah, blah, blah. But that, and, oh, sorry. And here's his Yelp here. So, and this is going to give you an idea of what I mean is Aladdin Plumbing and Heating. It's not matching perfectly what his name is, right? Google says the name has to match your registered name, and on his truck it says Aladdin Plumbing and Heating. You know the rules for naming conventions. But instead of just changing his YouTube channel name to his name here, why don't we put some keywords in there? There's nothing saying that you're not allowed to do that, right? We're not beholden to the Google profile rules on YouTube. We're not beholden to the Google profile rules on X, right? On Yelp, I don't know what the rules are specifically. Wherever you can add extra, right? So we don't have to, in the past, where the social media, we would have to match everything. So Google would automatically pull it in, right? So before on the social media in your Google profile, Google would pull it in automatically. So if there was a little mismatch, it wouldn't pull it in. But now you can manually add those items. If I go all the way back up here, sorry, if I go all the way, we're manually adding, so I don't have to rely on the system to match. I can keyword stuff any of these social media profiles. Why not? Right? There's no downside to putting more specifics. So I'm going through everything again. There's no downside to adding extra keywords of location or extra services that you're putting in. It's helping a user know what you do.
Well,
Obviously,
yeah, on the social media site, but not
yeah,
in the Google business profile. That we have to keep. That we don't want to change. But the other social sites that are getting pulled in, now you can, because you're manually adding them, they don't have to exactly match so that Google can find them. And so you have the opportunity to add the other things there. And then so far it's not going to penalize anything.
I don't see any downside. I've tested this, and I don't tell you guys things without testing it first. I've tested it, and it helps. Like for searches, it's going to help for searches in the various social platforms because your name and location and service is going to be there, so it might come up, right? Obviously, you don't want to just keyword stuff the name and leave it. Like obviously, this guy needs more videos, right? He needs better videos, updated, whatever. Uh, but I I guess the main idea is just because Google says you have to do something a certain way doesn't mean that YouTube is saying you have to do that the same way, or that X is, or that, right? So follow the rules or go to the limit of the rules of each one of those platforms. And we're always optimizing for Google, and we kind of constrain ourselves automatically without realizing that we're doing it. And so that's, again, is this advanced?
Here's
No,
sort
it's
of
keyword stuffing. It's not advanced, but it is advanced in mental sometimes because we kind of constrain ourselves without understanding what we're doing.
so Lance had a question that's kind of related to what we're talking about here with social media, and that is many agencies post the same content on all their social, and they in their GMB channel to optimize everything across all the platforms with a keyword strategy behind it. So are you saying that each channel now requires unique content? By way of example, different formats per platform. So, GB is an image, single image post, Facebook, video, Instagram, 4 image slider, etc. So basically, I think he's saying different format, same content.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the duplication of content?
So, I mean, obviously, it's for efficiency's sake. I don't think there's an issue. I didn't speak. I didn't speak to the actual posts and content there. What I was really the idea here is that here's your business name on these social profiles. You don't have to be beholden to Google's rules on it. Those are important elements, right? That's your H1 probably on all those social profiles. So that's what I mean. Do I think cross-posting is going to be an issue? I don't think it's an issue because imagine the AI system going around and it's checking your all your different profiles and it sees the same content. Why is it going to care? It's going to see what the content is and what you're talking about. But if it's the same across the board, I mean, it's not going to penalize you in any way, right? So I think as you go, you have to different content on different platforms is going to make more sense on like you're not going to post the same thing on LinkedIn than you're going to post on TikTok, right? It's going to be different formats. So whatever makes sense. But what I mean in general, at least have it. Like TikTok is not going to be the most popular for local businesses, but open it up, open your listing or a profile and connect it to Google and put something there if you can, right? And don't and put extra words if you can in your title because you're probably not going to be posting there. So at least put something there. And if you can make the descriptions a little bit different, make the descriptions a little bit different because that's a one-time thing. But I understand if you're using like DBA platform and you're cross-posting everywhere or different systems that let you cross-post to different places, you're not going to rewrite every single time. Obviously, I don't think it's negative.
Right. And JB posted in the webinar chat, not in the Q&A, but just talking about bringing up the issue that there are character limits, in for titles and some of these platforms and things. So, I mean, here's the other thing. If we're talking about this today and you run a single location, you can sit there and go through every one of these accounts, look at all the stuff, reorganize your stuff. You can update your videos. You can do, if you're an agency, you have to think about this at a different level because I've run an agency and I know what it's like to connect accounts, just to connect social accounts and all that is like, it could take forever. There's a lot of moving parts when you're managing a lot of locations. So this is also about, maybe changing your intake forms, right? When you get a new client so that you're including all of the handles for everything. Maybe it includes now a review of all of those and making sure that within the character limits that you've, optimized what you can say. So it's complex. It's like, I mean, when these Google, when it was Google My Business and they first came out with these profiles, it was real easy. You just fill it out, you post it. But it's become so much more complex to look at this as a big picture. And I think the job, Yen, that you provide for us is you tell us, you look over our shoulder kind of and say, oh, don't do this because that is going to get you into, that's going to get a microscope put on your profile. If you try to do that, that's going to get you suspended potentially and things like that. So what can we take advantage of and what can we? And I know we get that question a lot, right? That's like the biggest question that we get in the Q&A portion is like, what if I do this? Can I do this? Is this going to hurt me or is this going to help me? Does this matter or does it matter? So it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's getting spread out. It was a lot easier. We optimized for Google. That's it, done. Right? Now we're gonna get stretched. We're gonna get stretched, and as agencies to clients, I know I ask for stuff, I don't get it, or I tell them, hey, change the name on your Yelp, change the name on a, oh yeah, okay, and then it doesn't happen. 2 months, 3 months, and then you remind me, oh yeah, okay, doesn't it? But it's on our list of things to hassle the clients about, right? And these are elements where, again, we have to push a little bit for them on them to do things. But yeah, the consistency. It's hard. Consistency is important, but again, I don't care if the names are consistent anymore. Like the citations, they always, years and years ago, the consistency for addresses used to be, 100%. You had to be right on all the time. That's not the same anymore because it's just the Google systems, AI systems are smart now. They can understand variance in that way. So I think using that to our advantage by using the social medias and putting extra keywords there is going that we're using that ability to our best advantage. But the consistency, what we need to pay attention to when you do open those social media profiles and optimize for them is the reviews have to make sense, right? So if your Google is 4.9 and your Yelp is a 3.2 star, the AI system is going to be like, whoa, there's a mismatch here. right? Right now, Google doesn't do that, but the AI systems coming down the line will, right? So they're going to read all your reviews. They're going to look at your star rating. Some of them right now, they do look at your star rating. So, right? So the Google AI does. It doesn't read your reviews yet. It will eventually. But if imagine 4.8, 4.9 on your Google, and then on your Yelp, there's a 3.2, and on your Facebook, it's a 2.5. That system is not going to say you're the best. It's not going to return you as the answer because you're not because it will be checking those places, right? So we want to get ahead of that, and you want to talk to your clients, and you want to look at your social media profile and or your clients, and say, hey, your Yelp is pretty bad right now. It's not matching. It's not aligned. We got to deal with that. We need more reviews there. We need more reviews on Facebook. We need and whatever other third party uh, services like sites that come. Sometimes I don't have an image here, but it says reviews from the web. It's on your Google profile. Whatever those get pulled in, those ones are important to Google. Find those ones that are getting pulled in and make sure that you have enough reviews so that one bad review doesn't screw up your whole average, and make sure that all those things make sense. That's, I think, super important coming down is the reviews because, and maybe this is going to be probably for next month because I was testing and I wasn't ready to talk about it yet this month, but I was testing all the AI systems and what they were looking at and how they were evaluating the local. Like I was saying, who's the best roofer in this town, and I was picking its brains uh, on all the different systems. On why did you tell me this is the best one? And a lot of times they would hallucinate and give me wrong answers, and they would be inconsistent in their answer. So it takes a lot of time to figure out. But one of the main things that they were showing me is they were relying less on the website and more on third-party sites and review sites and other articles from different, newspapers and things like that. So I think that the actual like how we're SEOing content might become less important, and the overall pattern of how your brand is showing up is going to be more important. And again, that's why I'm telling you ahead of time, get your social media because that's your brand. I know I'm saying put keywords in your brand name. I don't think that's an issue. I think the systems are smart enough to understand because it's going to have your brand name with keywords. Your phone number is going to be the same. Your address is going to be the same. So it's going to understand that it's you, even though it might have an extra couple keywords compared to your Google profile. I'm not scared. I'm not worried about that. Um, what I'm concerned about is the reviews and the descriptions and the posts and all that going into those social media profiles. Is that consistent?
So speaking of reviews, Mark's question is kind of a long one here, but I've had more than one client leave me a 5-star review and they do not publish to my Google business profile. Google says they are against their policies, but I can't understand why. Here's an example, and this is in quotes, a review that someone left. Our organization is very pleased with our newly revamped and professional website that Websites Made with Love created for us. We felt our vision and wants for the website were heard during the planning stages, and we were blown away by the vision coming to life. Thank you for giving us a website that we are proud to share, a wonderful team to work with. So Mark continues, can anyone explain why this is happening or what in this review is against their policies? Does anybody else have this issue? Now, before I toss that one to you, Jan, a couple of people,
I see
yeah,
it. Marty
Marty and
answer.
Jackie jumped in and said, Jackie said, I've also seen issues with, not sure.
Yeah,
Also,
he's saying the word blown away. I mean,
yeah,
that could be a violent thing. So maybe the system picked it up as like, oh, that's gun stuff. It may not like that specific word. So in general, Google filters out good reviews frequently. Um, if you can go back to the client and say, hey, it's not showing up publicly, can you rewrite it? And you shorten it, or if it's very short, make it a little bit longer. But it could be something with a specific word. It might be something with the profile that's leaving the review that Google thinks they're suspicious and none of their reviews are going through. One thing you
So
can try to
you're saying
ask.
it could be related to the profile who wrote the review.
Yes, 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 yeah.
They might be kind of flagged as a.
They might be getting filtered or something like that. So it may not, but it could be content related, it could be account related. What I would say to them, if you know, it's like, hey, it didn't show up. Can you rewrite it? Can you shorten it? Can you, in this case, you could take out that specific word, blown away that term there.
Oh,
And
Jackie says maybe too many exclamation points. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's yeah. See if you can, if you're that type of business, if they can add an image with their review, those ones usually do not get filtered. Google will usually, because that increases the trust because it's an actual thing. So if you
Ooh,
can add
good
a
tip. So
picture,
that's almost like a verified buyer because they're adding a photo.
yeah. So and
Mark did
yeah,
say that in this instance, the reviewer has left other reviews and the profile seems normal.
yeah,
Yeah, but the image one, that's a good one.
yeah. Try to, if you can, and it makes sense for your business, add a review, image with your review. Oh, if I know it's hard to ask them to change to edit in a review, but if you see a bunch of these happening, if it's a one-off, Google doesn't care. Like you can't, there's no way to go to Google. Google support is going to be like, yeah, that's our filtering, too bad, right? If there's multiple coming, if there's like, if you know that like the last 5 reviews that I know people left for me didn't show up, then you can maybe, if you go to regular support, they'll give you the same stock answer, too bad for you. You can escalate that through the forum, but there has to be a pattern. Otherwise, if there's not a pattern of an ongoing issue, then Google, because sometimes what happens is listings will get blocked. Like sometimes a review gets a lot of fake reviews, and you don't even know because the fake reviews get filtered before you even see it. Google will turn off all reviews for that profile for a certain amount of time, and you don't even know as a business owner. All you know is like, oh, I'm not getting my good reviews. You might have just gotten 50 bad reviews, like fake reviews that someone just bought to put on you, and you didn't even know about it, that they all got filtered before you saw them. Google said, oh, this listing is getting attacked. We're turning off all the reviews for now, and then you don't get any good reviews. And then you notice that no good reviews are coming in, and it might be weeks before that, before you know.
Why would
Anyway,
that happen? Why would somebody else write good reviews for your profile?
no, no, like sometimes there's bad reviews. Someone's doing a review attack, and the system will turn off your reviews, the
Oh,
ability
bad
to
review.
receive reviews,
Gotcha.
but its ability to receive all reviews.
Gotcha.
And but you don't get a notification for that. Again, this is a rare thing, but it's one of those things that does happen, and I see it on the forum every once in a while. It's like, hey, I'm not getting any reviews, and then you find out that they had a review attack and blah blah. So, but in this case, if it's a one-off, you can't really do anything except go back to the reviewer and say, update this content, put a picture if you can, and try again. Uh, but yeah, it's just a normal filtering system. Google's tweaks it, and sometimes what happens is a, a list review that was filtered before might all of a sudden pop back up a year later, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. And or sometimes the opposite, a bad review might pop up, and you're like, I didn't get that bad review like a year ago. I never saw that because it was filtered originally, and now it got unfiltered. Google's tweaking the dials all the time. The filters come in and out once in a while. It's kind of normal. You may not, if you're not paying attention close, if you don't have hundreds and hundreds of reviews, you're probably not noticing it and
Well,
paying attention.
that does create weirdness. These things pop
Yeah,
up and you're like, where did that come from?
yeah,
And it's like all this information is out there. Google's just changing the filters.
yeah.
Don't forget if you have a specific question that we've uh raised in your spirit today, stick it in the Q&A and we'll get to it. If you want to read the ones that are there and upvote them, everything that's left has no upvotes, so I'm just going to take them in the order that they came in.
Okay.
Eve asked, how does Google differentiate between fake and real reviews?
Oh, I don't know the internal things. I mean, probably by country. If someone's in India and leaving a review for someone in North America, it probably has a certain flag, profile to it, that kind of thing.
Do you think they
It's
look at that like within the US if a store is in Detroit and the review comes from, Denver, that they go, how likely is it that this person actually
it
interacted?
becomes difficult. It becomes difficult because they have to write. For example, you would think that like if it's for hotels, people are traveling all around, right? So
Yeah.
let's say I have my profile, I leave all my reviews, 'cause I'm reviewing restaurants here in Toronto, and then all of a sudden I go to Miami, I leave a review for a restaurant there, and then but Google knows on your phone where you've been, so it's tracking that kind of thing. So it's like, why is like 100 reviews around Toronto, and all of a sudden there's one in Miami? Is because I went for a conference or something and I left a review. Should it get flagged? Should it not get flagged? So it's sophisticated, right? And I
Yeah.
don't know all the
So they
details.
could be looking at the industry. If it's a shoe store, that's less likely. And but um, could still happen because somebody's
Yeah,
traveling, and so percentage wise, maybe.
yeah.
Um, Another question from Eve: does Google include the Google Business Profile reviews in store ratings?
So right now they're separate. The Google listings and those store ratings are different things. And that's where I'm speculating, right? So I'm trying to think ahead for you guys is because LSA was so spammy, now they're merging. They're like, okay, LSA, we can't control those. We're only going to use the Google profile reviews. But now we also have this other system that is collecting like store reviews. But there's a lot of Google profiles that are stores, but now they have these reviews that are separate. Are they going to merge? Are they like how is that going to work out in the future? Because Google doesn't like messiness, right? So it's going to try to clean things up as it goes along. So that's where I'm pointing things out to you to think ahead. Also to pay attention to them. Like I said, why are those videos up the top instead of the reviews at the top, right? So that's why I talked about, all these social media things. So um, yeah, I don't know exactly because I don't know. I don't do the e-commerce too much, right? So I don't know exactly where those store reviews are coming from or how they get prompted to you or why or who gets them. But for me, it's like here's two different systems. They don't, to me, it doesn't make sense that they're separate. We have Merchant Center integrated into Google Profiles. Are they going to merge at some point? If you have a store and you can sell physical products, why not try to take the opportunity to use that to get these other connections to your profile as well?
So here's an interesting question from Eric. Does Google know if I use AI to answer reviews? And I'm interested in that one too, Jan, because um,
Doesn't know if you use AI. I don't think it's checking in that too much. Um, I think Google is it's checking reviews for the filter, right? So like any normal thing. And I don't know if like how they say, oh, like, oh, if you use AI or ChatGPT and it's like, oh, here are the words that ChatGPT uses like much more often than normal people, right? And it kind of you can tell, and that's how those AI detectors work as well, right? Is that being incorporated into the Google system filtering
yeah, maybe you can make
system?
that a part of also your request for AI. You just go, and also could you state everything in a way that the AI filters can't catch it by using strange terminology and whatever else?
Well, we're gonna have our own system here. We're gonna have our right DBA where it's coming out soon. We don't talk about DBA stuff enough.
Should we talk about what we're doing? We have a
Yeah.
lot of new things coming out actually. A lot of AI stuff, a lot of automations, the reporting, which is uh, coming up, is super exciting, especially if you're in the automotive world, because it's going to actually, for the first time, be able to tell you like uh, information about which cars are selling, which types of cars from your history you need to spend more money on in ads, and allow you to actually, move ad budget, see what your competitors are selling, see if they're selling those makes and models faster than you are. I mean, crazy amount of information coming. Um, but what were you gonna say?
Oh well, because we're gonna have our AI owner like the store like when we apply to a review, we have our AI system coming in. So if you have hundreds of listings and you're whatever Starbucks, um, you can't like reply manually to every single person who's leaving a review. So you need AI to help you say, hey, thanks for the review. Depending on if it's a 5 star or 1 star, blah, blah, blah. Like if it's a 1 star, oh, please call our customer service, what, blah, blah. Like you can't manually respond to all of those. So the AI system is DBA is going to launch soon, where it's in testing right now, beta testing. So that'll come soon. So that's not going to be an issue because Google doesn't really necessarily care about your owner replies. One thing which is important because you want to reply especially to your negative reviews is again the AI system is going to be looking at that. And let's say you get lots of 1 star reviews and you never answer the AI system. What is the normal thing that a person would think like, well, their customer service sucks. They're not even replying to their bad customers, right? The AI system is not going to return you your list. If I say who's the best XYZ store and you don't reply to any of your at least your 1 star reviews, their customer service is bad. Why should I put them first or second or third even, right? So that's where we have to think more like people. How are people evaluating? Because the AI system is going to have access to a lot more information. Right now, Google has the programmers have to be like, okay, we want to include this factor and it's going to have a weighting of this. We want to include this factor, it's going to have a weighting of this. Once they let the AI do its thing, it's going to be like, okay, do a search, find out what you want, and give me an answer. Google engineers are not going to have as much ability to tweak those elements, and so we have to do our best everywhere.
Okay, Eric also asked, is there a penalty for using the same article or image for multiple profiles? I'm posting for multiple dealerships with the same owner group, and I just use the dynamic fields with the same content.
I don't think so. I mean, would a person care if you use the same picture everywhere? No, I don't think so. It's like a logo. It's the images, they're the same. That's consistency. That's fine.
Okay, so here's the one that we get a lot. This one's from Paula. What would you recommend if a client comes to you and their profile is suspended? Should we reach out to Google directly, just do the video? At times there's no open case, so just trying to reinstate pages is exhausting.
Okay, so suspension, there's an appeal tool. So go through the appeal tool. Now there's glitches like I talked about before, where sometimes you go to the appeal and it says there's no info found. There's no info found, then you can't use the tool because you can't even do anything. So you have to
Yeah, I
go
think
to
that's
the,
what she's saying. No
yeah.
case there. Yeah.
So you can contact regular support if you can get through. I know sometimes it's hard. They'll be like, "Oh no, this is suspended. You have to use the tool," and then you get into a loop. So you can also go to the support forum and say, "I have the no info found error." Support is supposed to be able to help you. Normal regular support, like with the get help link, is supposed to be able to help you, but sometimes they still don't. So if you're getting into that like email loop where they're saying too bad, use the tool, then go to the forum and say I'm stuck in a loop. So that's what you would do there.
Okay. Yulia said, from your practice, for what radius in a big city like LA or New York, you can get a business profile ranked in the top 3?
It's hard. I would have to check. It depends your category. If you're a pizza restaurant, I mean, it might be a half a mile. If you're a roofer, it might be 5 miles. If you're more niche business, it might be five. It might be bigger, or smaller, depending on your category. What you would do there is, if you're using Local Falcon or a grid track type tracker, is you run a grid and you go larger than you think that you need, right? So go 2 miles, whatever. If you're in the middle of Manhattan, obviously it's like the whole city of 2 miles. You're going to use quarter mile if you're in Manhattan, for example. But go a little bit larger than you think, and then look if you're on Local Falcon, you look at the competitor report, and then look at this because what you'll see on the competitor report is you'll see the strong. Not only will you see who's on top, but you'll see what their visibility bubble is. You'll see what they're green. If they are like really big across the entire city, then I know that if they could do it, I could do it. But if everyone has little teeny tiny bubbles of green, then I know that everyone's so small that I might have maxed out my visibility already. It's hard not to do it visually, but that's how I would decide, can I grow or not grow? What's my limit on this keyword area?
Okay, here's one from Dre Dre. I'm helping a new client reestablish their Google business profile after it was suspended with an appeal. The business has been around for years and someone in Canada changed something. We've deleted the suspended profile and created a new one. They have a location with a showroom and it is legit. Google has not completed its verification and it's been 10 days. We do not have a link to upload a verified video. How can we push them or contact them to get the verification completed?
If it says pending, then I would contact regular support. So the general idea is if there's a problem, go to regular support. If regular support can't help you, go to the forum. That's usually the answer. To cut it short since we're running out of time.
All right. Here's last one from Anonymous. Our client has a restoration industry business and they travel to clients. They're set up as a service area on Google Business Profile. They'd like to open an office in a co-working space, which Google allows. Would you recommend this? Any caveats to deal with?
Co-working space, very difficult to get approved because Google will force you to like have the signage there, prove that there's an employee there, even though your service area, like using a service area business with a co-working space address is likely to, even if you could get through the verification video, if you get suspended, it's going to be like, it's not a good idea. I'd rather you get a hole in the wall closet or find a small space that is not a co-working space because those addresses are flagged. There's lots of businesses at those co-working spaces. It's going to be troublesome. Even if you can get it verified, it can be a potential huge headache in the future. And if you lose your listing, let's say a year from now, for all your reviews and you can't get it back, that's really tough. So
even
I'd
though this
rather you,
question says Google allows it, but it's not great.
because they will make you jump through hoops for verification if you get, first of all, yeah, for verification, but if you get suspended, it's going to be even harder. And if you might get denied because you're not showing the right thing, because the support guy in India doesn't know that it's a code. Like it's just going to be huge potential headaches. If there is an alternative, I would try looking for an alternative. Yeah, no
Perfect.
PO boxes, no co-working spaces.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you so much for giving us the some detailed information today. And thanks everybody for participating with your questions. There's a couple questions we didn't get to. If you want to add them
in the Facebook group.
In our Facebook group, I think Luke put the link in the chat, in the webinar chat. If you're not already in there, because it's a closed private group, if you want to get in, you can go there. We'll enable you and you can ask a question there. We do this webinar every month. Pretty soon we're going to be launching a bunch of auto edition features that are in QA now and are getting some marketing materials drawn up for some really exciting things that are happening in auto. So I think we'll be doing a webinar about that. We also have we have a bunch of new things rolling out, and Luke and I are trying to figure out what the webinar schedule is going to be for the holidays here with Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up, the New Year. So we'll try to bump them up a little bit earlier in the month, and we'll always have our Q&A. So hang with us, and we'll get some new things out to you. If you have any questions about services, you need any help with anything that you're working on to automate it, bulk verification, any questions about that, reach out to us in our support chat, and we'll get you to the right person to help you get some help in getting found. Thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you guys real soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye all.